We rolling?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Today at hand is the police department, and we've got Chief Scott here. I handed out. I made a couple extra copies of the police budget because obviously it's the biggest budget. It's the most involved. So I wanted the board to have a chance to kind of review all the paperwork and not have to really ship files around. So there are 2 copies out there. I do have a third if I need to throw the third one out too, that I have. Preliminarily, just to update you on what you have, I just gave you a insert for your tentative budget, requested budget, tentative budget paperwork. Those will replace the A-fund expenditures that you currently have. The best way to tell the differences is I page numbered the new sheets. So the ones that have the page numbers on them are the ones that you replace the expenditures A-fund that were originally put in there, okay? Now in this, I have populated a lot of other areas like retirement, like bonds. I had a discussion with our bond support and came down with a conservative and a minimum approach. Right now what I put in for bonds is the conservative number. I do have a little bit of room if we need to find dollars to lower the contributions for the debt payment, which will probably gain us another $60,000, $70,000 if we get to that point. But that'll be a discussion after the tentative is submitted, and you guys will have a chance after the public hearing to determine whether or not you want to pare that down. With the tax cap involved and everything like that, we're looking at preliminarily a general fund budget should be approximately $3,050,000. Just for, I'm sorry, for the A fund, hang on a second. I don't want to give you guys one. Yeah, so for taxes, we have about $3,050,000 in real property taxes that we'll be able to get with the tax cap. Now, that's subject to adjustments once I plug the numbers into the state website, because there are some exclusions and so on. I'll be able to give you a more refined number, but we're looking in that ballpark. In addition to that, I'd like to just, before we get into police, I need the board to give me some guidance as to when we want to talk salaries and final incidentals before the tentative goes in. Now remember, the tentative is your dream budget sheet. Obviously, with the tax cap, you're going to have to make modifications to that, but you're not necessarily required to make those modifications until the public hearing. And at the public hearing, you might be able to get some guidance from the public as to what's higher priorities, which might help you adjust the budget accordingly. Okay. Now you do have fund balance to consider this year. As I mentioned during our audit review, we didn't use any of the allocated fund balance for 2014. That's great. This year you've incurred a lot more unanticipated expenses, so you're going to be going into fund balance. Question is how much you want to go in. We did have a discussion about paying off all of the street reconstruction money. I did get a clarification that we do not need to be rated if the debt is under $1 million. So that will save a lot of money if we decide to do a serial bond for the street reconstruction. But we'll have to debate that during, I think, the salary period. When we talk salaries, we'll also talk that. Okay, so I just want to make sure that we're all on that page. And Mayor, I want to find out, next Monday you have the village board meeting. Now I was going to recommend that next Tuesday we have a final meeting to discuss the final budget, but it's also St. Patrick's Day, so I don't know if that is going to interfere with the ability to have a board meeting. The latest we could have a board meeting would be next Wednesday, which would give me enough time to, which is the election day, which would give me enough time to get the budget prepared and submit to the clerk by Friday.
We don't do it much.
Okay, so, do we want to allocate Tuesday?
It doesn't bother me, I'm flexible on that. As long as
When do you wanna,
you have to,
You Tuesday, third.
alright, so it's got each other, that's right.
I think we're okay on St. Patty's Day that one.
Tuesday?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right, so just for Gina, for Tuesday, so we just, we post that we're gonna have the next meeting Tuesday. Tomorrow's meeting's canceled. Monday's meeting will be a board meeting. I will say, I will be at the board meeting Monday because it's a treasurer's report. If the board meeting goes quick and you want to jump into the budget on Monday, I certainly will be prepared for it. But I think you would be smart to have Tuesday as your primary day, okay? So if that's what you,
Let's plan on trying to do on Monday, and then they'll also set up Tuesday.
we'll talk.
Tuesday, we'll set Tuesday aside. If we need to, we'll have that as our final day.
So we're confirming that Monday's board meeting?
Yeah.
Is that what
you have to post that though, 24 hours?
Yeah.
As early as possible.
Okay, so do you want to just post, you can always
Yeah,
cancel.
That's what I'm saying, we're definitely posting it to Tuesday.
Okay, all right,
And if we get it done on Monday, then we cancel Tuesday.
okay. Okay, good.
Possibly Monday after board meeting and Tuesday if necessary.
Yes.
Same
Okay.
time, 7 o'clock on Tuesday?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so that's, those are the only updates I have. So now we'll go into the police budget. There's a lot of submissions there. I think, Mary, what you want to do is have Kenny review what he's proposed.
Go
Is that how
ahead.
you want to do it?
Yep.
Okay.
Where do we want to start? The easy one, the police budget? Police salary? 3120? Oh, that's the second.
Shall we start with salaries?
Got it. You want to start with the 31201?
What do you need? What? That's what you got right there. Yeah. And it's also in the, it's written in there. Okay, so police budget for, again, salaries are going to be discussed at the next meeting. We're looking at here is 3120.02 and .04.
Right, most of all the 3120.1 is driven by contractual. So the increases you see are all based on the most recent collective bargaining agreement that runs out this May 31st. So I was able to plug in those current numbers, and as we always do, we project a percentage, not necessarily the percentage we're gonna settle on, but it gives us middle ground. If it's less, that's good. If it's more, at least we have something accounted for. So because there was some adjustments in the collective bargaining agreement that was agreed upon, all the numbers that are outlined, which sheet do you guys have these sheets?
Yes.
If you compare it to last year's numbers, they all increased slightly.
Contract for 15. We're still in contract till 3/15.
It expires
May?
May 31st, yeah. So I took the most recent numbers and plugged them in. Remember the last 3 years, the last 3 budgets, we were kind of shooting in the dark.
As far as, I know we talked about how do we go further with longevity and all these things. I spoke to John Mancini in Albany from NICOM and the Triborough amendment. And he was saying that, I think this is how he explained it to me. He emailed it to me and I read it about 5 times. The budget going forward on a year without a contract is the same as the prior year. So that 2% may have come in situations that we had, because the year before, when they had the contract, it was 2%. So you factor in that 2%, whatever raise they had the prior year, they get for that, and then the longevity and everything is added. There's no clear-cut percentage on what that is if they don't come to terms under the first year of the contract, but,
So we don't have to do 2% as originally.
well,
But you should,
You
this
do
is
and you
only going to
don't.
give
If-
you,
if they
give you
got it-
something, you
right,
can
right.
take
It's a
that,
base.
whatever that figure
Yeah.
is, and put it
Right.
out to the side.
well, did they get 2% last year? I'm trying to remember.
2.5
Well-
in this current year, but the previous years were 2, so with the 2% projections, we were 0.5 off.
Yeah, well, I think that if they got 2.5 last year,
Don't give it to them again.
well, no, but I think that we have to, if in fact we don't come to terms, they may be entitled to the 2.5 going in.
I don't believe that's the way, unless they change something.
You know something, I read that thing, and he didn't answer my question specifically on that matter. I said, is it 2%? And he said, well, you have to read it, and it's,
The
so,
way, Bob, I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's
The way
right.
that NYSUP has been running is, whatever the, okay, so the last year, they, let's say 2.5% was the last figure. Going into the next year, it doesn't lock you in, meaning that you gotta give them another 2.5. It's whatever you settle on. Now, we can factor in 2.5,
oh, well, that's,
but I'm just saying, it
No,
doesn't.
it's not what you said, Ron. It's 2%.
well, let's say it is 2%, but what I guess the conversation now is what we put aside to meet this need going forward next year. In fact, we come to terms on a percentage.
Right.
Ed asked us for that magical number, and I told him, I don't know.
I wish we did, I picked a lot of.
You know,
Well,
so,
but just like just like what happened with now, where we had to pay all that extra overtime in one lump sum. In the 2 years that the contract wasn't settled, that increase was not given, correct, or no?
well, it was negotiated. It's
I know,
subject,
but I mean, that year, you understand what I'm saying? That year, the 2 years it wasn't settled,
right,
they weren't paid those until the afterwards.
right, well, till we settled up
That's
to
why,
that.
that's why we
ratified
factor
contract.
in a percentage here.
No, I understand that, I'm just,
Yeah, and the longevity and everything, even though you don't have a contract, they still get all the longevity and everything else according to the contract,
Right.
without a contract. You know, if they're out of contract 3 years, every year they get the longevity. I believe that's all
Yeah,
that
the
is.
rate-
Whatever,
Yeah,
prior
whatever the prior
contract.
contract says, that's right. So I guess we're just trying to decipher on what we used. You asked at the last meeting, what number do you want to use?
Well, it's been
on
my
that?
experience that once the contract expires, everything remains the same except for the increases, the pay increases. Now, the discussion of the Triborough amendment, I don't know if that, because I'm referring back to the town, and if I recall, we put reserve money aside for salaries, but we didn't do any raises during the budget. It was basically the salary stayed flat.
Flat.
And we put the money aside for when the contracts were settled.
A retro pay.
That's my experience. Now, I don't know the particulars of the Triborough amendment,
I'll
so
email to you, I think you
Okay.
have this, because there's about 6 files.
I'm wondering if the lawyer completely understands it. Instead of talking to you, he
I'll
said
be
you
honest
was
with
lying.
you,
Depends
yeah,
on the lawyer,
yeah,
yes.
that's what I thought too, because I asked him that question 3 times, and he said, I'm gonna send you the file, you know,
Yeah.
and I read the file probably 4 or 5 times.
Still a
and
question.
It still, yeah,
Yeah.
it still makes me scratch my head whether or not I'm reading this properly, so, I'll send
Now,
it to you.
past practice with the expired contract, has there been raises given or there was set asides?
Only if they're in the steps. If they're maxed out on the steps, they just stay right there.
They stay right
And all
there.
they get is retro
Yeah,
based on whatever the percentage
that's
they settle
been-
for that calendar year.
that's been my experience also.
That's the most recent one.
so if they're getting step raises, then what's the point of the contract? Just a percentage?
They're raised for the year. And any changes to,
That's just a step, that's just starting, and then if they're, it was a year?
year.
Yeah.
And then, so in 4 years they're at top, right Ken?
Yes.
Right, what I'm saying is without a contract, you're saying they're still getting paid the step?
Yes,
If they're in
Yes,
the step, if they're
that's
maxed
the
out,
current-
if they've been here 5 years, then they're getting this bottom number and they're just sliding over.
Their current contract says, this is your step plan in 5 years. Okay? You know what I'm saying?
I understand. Christmas came early.
That's how.
Don't talk to me, you're one of them.
They are, look, they have,
So everybody's budget contract
the
is.
contracts
It's not like
have,
private sector where you get here
Yeah.
and then next year you get a $25,000 raise.
yeah, the
You get these
contracts
raises
have
and that's
grown.
it.
Yeah, the contracts have grown and
A
they
percentage
get
of what we're living
complicated. They do get complicated. But, again, I think that, Bob, send me what you have. But it's my experience that we really, the actual increases are really your discretion, since you don't have a contract.
I think two is a safe,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's a safe thing so we don't get hit like we
Gotta put
did.
something in.
Two's always been that.
The only thing we worry about is that they automatically started to, and they figure that's the lowest they can actually come to and look for 3 or 4.
Look, a lot
Just by
of,
putting this, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
just by putting the 2% away, doesn't mean they have to get it.
No,
Right, but that's,
You
that's
still
what
gotta
you don't even
negotiate a
have to,
contract.
you don't even,
No.
look, you don't even have to consider 2%, you could just say we're gonna put away $40,000.
well, we talked about, we're not
That's what
gonna,
we talked
we're not
about.
gonna tie a
we're
percent
not,
to it.
we're not gonna
We're
tie
just
percent to it,
gonna-
exactly.
And look, the other thing is a lot of contracts now that are getting settled, for the back years, they're zeros. And then the last year, there's a percentage, yes. So, and you must be seeing that too.
Yes, because you cut, the management's thought process, you're cutting down the retro pay.
Yeah.
Year 1 is 0, year 2 is 0, year 3 is 5.
Yeah.
You're only paying retro on that third year.
Yeah. So
That's
that,
their thought process.
Well, that's, they negotiate, it's
So you gotta negotiate, I mean,
Yeah.
and so,
so then, what,
Sure, it's going
again,
down
what
for
you're,
yes.
what you're looking at is the potential where this is year 1, you can put a set aside, you can either do it through a contingency or make that determination once you see the rest of the budget and where you're at.
I think that's the way to go, figure out the number, don't use a percentage, we do a number, we put it
Set aside.
done.
Yeah,
Okay,
yep, that's what we
we'll
figured.
we'll use something as a guide, we'll get it there.
And what would you-
You don't, you understand what we're doing?
Yeah, but whatever figure you come up with,
it's not,
MAG.
right, but
The reason we don't want to use that is we don't want that to be a number out there for negotiation.
they can't use that as.
They beg me, cashiers, that's exactly what they've done.
If you see one of the,
Well, tell so far,
nice, see you the treasure.
Tell her that. You're getting way.
I understand, that's why I'm talking a little lower.
Put 0.
You know, I don't.
Put
do
0
too much
away,
on
that
the
means
computer.
that- that what they're gonna use to negotiate.
Right, if you go with that
I'll
lot.
forward you that, I got 5 files, I'll send them out.
Okay.
No, you can say,
I can read it.
using that
I understand
philosophy.
what you're saying, using
Tribal
lump sum.
agreement, the tribal amendment.
but it's really semantics, I mean,
and
whether you're
host
using
of other
percentages.
issues.
Because that lump sum's gonna give you a percentage.
Okay.
Right.
It's informative.
I think we want,
Listen, my
It's the same thing.
opinion is
Same
you
amount of money
leave
going
it
in.
at the percentage,
so
you
you
get
get
sleepy.
sleepy.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, moving on.
Okay, like I said, that just keeps us safe ground, middle ground, basically. So, like I said, using the most recent numbers, that affected the change that you're seeing before you compared to last year's numbers.
That's that sheet there you're talking about, salaries.
Yep. And I do have a copy, so I didn't make everyone a copy, but this is the most recent numbers, and everything has one.
Yeah, there's 3 total copies, so everybody should.
Right.
Which one are you, this is the contractual one?
Well, are we done with the salaries? Is there any questions on the salaries?
Bicycle foot patrol. Is that going on?
It's primarily the foot, we like to bring an extra guy in during the summer months on the weekends, Friday and Saturday night. Thursday,
So-
Friday, I'm sorry, Thursday, Friday and Saturday.
Basically,
One
you're
extra
saying
person.
that 10,000 is not used for the actual bicycle,
No.
you're just bringing a guy in.
Yeah, I
That
can
covers
put the
that
bike,
somewhat.
sometimes most of the time we're putting them on foot or in a car.
Right,
Just gives us that extra person out there during the peak
okay.
times.
And just one question, the thing here, traffic control, is that the gentleman over by the middle
Where
school?
we at it, over, hold on. So sometimes I get the on-street
Yeah, because I was
No, the
trying to
traffic-
decipher between the two.
Yes, that's the crossing guard. And
So
the
traffic-
on-street would be the parking enforcement,
Which one's parking
the
enforcement?
on-street. So you're right, traffic controls the crossing.
All right, so
guard.
that's crossing guard,
Mhm.
all right, and then the bicycle, and are they the same, bicycle foot patrol?
No, that's on the 3120.1.
Okay, so I'm trying to find the ticket writer, who's that?
That would be your on-street, the traffic enforcement officer.
And which page is that on?
That's your, it should be on-street parking.
On-street parking.
Not there, Peter, oh, it's on there.
Let me see what yours looks like, because for some
I
reason
did
I'm
some
not,
scribbling.
I'm not seeing this.
Also with other events, you have Fall Foliage National Night Out, we've never done National Night Out.
Well,
Are you planning on doing that
Yes.
this year and
Yes,
this
sir.
worked into it?
Yep.
West Point football games, 40 hours, what's that about?
That's when we do the escorts, but we get money for that, so there's
Right.
actually a net gain on that.
You have that,
But I gotta put the money up to get the officer.
right, but you have that money in here as far as the budget? Well, you're saying,
That comes when we get that during the year. I don't know if it's gonna be more, because sometimes they ask for an extra escort and then we charge.
I'm okay with it being more, but don't we need to do that for budgeting purposes, have the
A revenue on it.
expected income?
We've been taking it as unanticipated. Ed?
I'll be right back, I didn't copy this, because I got two communication
Seriously?
ones.
I'll be right back.
Now we're gonna lose our train of thought, but I get what you're saying.
That's my, this way, see what needs to happen is, this can't be seen as West Point football costing us $1,000. It needs to be either it evens out or we're making money, or people are gonna be like, what the hell, are we putting more people on for West Point football?
Wasn't
Why are
this-
we paying for
Wasn't
that?
like a mutual support at the gate or something for guys that they're for like X number of hours or 600 hours or something like
Right,
that?
Yes.
But
that's-
we're
that's
getting paid
different.
for it.
Okay,
That's
yes.
the thing though, is that we have to
Are we
show that, we're
showing
not showing we're getting
income?
paid for
Are we
it.
showing money coming in?
This way the taxpayer understands that we're not paying $1,000 out.
going
I
out.
don't know
I
how
got
to put
16,
that,
18
you know,
hours.
how, it
When he gets back
They
up here.
they don't
we'll
have,
figure it out.
have you make up a line for that plus coming back to us where that would be best suited.
Yeah, however he wants to populate it.
Yeah.
And then I can work it into my sheet.
Yeah, I don't know where you
It'd
pop.
be nice to have a sheet from the trip, I mean, maybe he's working on that,
Yeah.
and I can just plug in all my papers into that.
Well, you know, someone talked to me the other day, I'm sure,
Right.
because I have no idea where that would
For
go.
parking, do we know what's running tickets over? That? I'll keep going those over there. The 5,000 on the 4th of July, I understand we have to do that, we have to figure out how to lower that, while keeping at least the amount of same people on. Just put it out there, it's way high. The 4th of July event,
It's probably our most expensive day.
right, we have to figure, but this is exactly what I'm looking for from the department heads. Taking our most expensive day and figuring out how to, with the same number of coverage or whatever, how we're lowering the number. Where are we getting money from outside to cover that? And again, there may be things that you're doing to already do that. It needs to be in here. Like when you get your money from, obviously it's unanticipated if you're going for a grant or something like that.
Mhm.
But if you know there's money coming in for some certain thing, it needs to be in here so that we can show the offset.
I'll get with that and we can work out something.
Ken, what do the shifts usually run on 4th of July? Is it like 12s or all day?
Some guys work 16, some work 8, some only work 4, just, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
If, you know, the midnight guys going off, you don't wanna hold them for 16, you can send them home and then bring them back for 16, it depends, cause it actually runs all the way into the night, because
So I mean,
the
when
guys are
do we
running
usually
calls
shut that
to the
down?
fifth.
2? Like when does it usually feel like it shuts down at night? Is it, how far into the AM usually do we?
It depends, sometimes 4 or 5 in the morning.
I got you. Well, probably depends on what day of the week.
I mean, that's also factoring in the other events that are going on. You guys, you have the block party, the Main Street thing here, you have the bed races.
Right.
That's one. The canoe races, we bring extra people in, so that's all of
Why?
that. It's not just.
All right, 4th of July, it's not
It's
just
all the
4th of
people
July?
that you have.
It's that, pretty much that whole week?
It's
Is
the
that what
whole
that
week.
budget? Okay.
I understand on the 4th, I don't really know if we really need that many. How many additional people do we bring in for the canoe races?
It depends if it falls when there's other events going on.
Usually doesn't.
It changes every year.
I'm quite aware.
The bigger other than the 4th of July, your bed races are the next big thing.
Right.
And you're not having the same coverage, the actual fourth, as you're doing the bed race, you have it all tied in as one section.
You know, he's bringing additional people in for the canoe races and the bed races.
When you say additional.
Right,
I
but
don't
he's not
see-
saying the same amount of additional.
No,
people.
obviously,
Well,
no.
that's why I was
It
asking.
depends.
mean-
Sometimes one guy can handle the
Okay.
park events.
Right. Generally, on 4th of July, how many people are we employing on that particular day?
You can have 2 extra guys on that day.
Okay. all right.
On the fourth?
No, on the day when you have the canoe race. It depends, if you have the.
You're talking about the
The
fourth.
4th,
Oh, the 4th?
yeah.
We got 20 guys, 20 members, actually 22. If we can get them all in, we get them all in. It's all hands on
Okay.
deck. Sometimes you only have 16 guys in.
What is on the second shift, the 7, or the 3 to 11? Is
They're
that on-
spread out throughout the whole
Okay,
day.
all right.
The bulk of your people are in right prior to the parade. That's all the prep before that, and you got the run in the morning,
All the crowds.
and the posting of the no parking and getting the cars off the streets. But the peak time is right before, an hour before the parade, and then until wee hours of the morning.
I think this is a time we can definitely work with the town a little more. Nothing's going on in Pullman Canoe. And I
Well,
think,
They sent me,
everybody's-
they
everybody's
sent,
there
they
for
sent
it.
us one officer
Well-
last year.
Did they?
now we can have a discussion, if they're on, they should be here. The canoe races are an hour,
Right.
and it's done. The bed races are 2 hours, and it's done. I don't think we need to have, are we bringing someone in for a full shift for those? So they're coming in for a
It
couple
just
hours?
depends when the events are.
If the event is the bed races,
Mhm.
and it's 6 to 8, is someone coming in for a full shift or just 2 hours?
It'd be 2 hours.
We can do that?
The full-timers get a minimum of 2 hours, actually, the part-time, take that back, they get a minimum 3 hours show, so we'll hold them for 3.
And that's what we've been doing.
Thank you.
And I can't make any definite
Yeah,
scheduling until I know what time the events are. Is there 2 events, like I was saying with World Park? If it's, is it just the canoe races? Because if it's just the canoe races, it's not a big deal. But if you got the chili cook-off and all that other stuff that goes on with it, and it's followed up with the canoe races, that creates where I have to have a guy there, at least
Right.
one guy.
I understand what you're
Longer than
saying,
an hour or
but
two.
the other thing is that some of these events, and this is where, as a local person, we have to be more aware of what's going on. 3 or 4 of these events on a regular have never gone more than 10 people at a function. Some of these events at Roe Park. Now, only 2 years the canoe race draw an actual real crowd, because I've been there. So this is why I'm concerned why we're putting the district people on. I wanna make sure that we're not just putting them on because there was paperwork saying there's something going on. If there's something going on, there should be something going on every day, and we should have extra people.
If the paperwork's saying they anticipate 100 people, I have to plan for 100 people. If only 10 show up, well, the minimum, if it's a full-timer, if you're there for 2 hours, guess what? You get to go home. If it's a part-timer, all right, there's only 10 people, I'm sorry you gotta sit there and watch this. After your 3rd hour, go home. But I can't make that adjustment until I see what's actually out there.
All right,
So,
I'm
you
gonna-
know, basically, we're looking at the event form, saying,
Right.
all right, they're anticipating 500 people. Well, let me plan this event for 500 people.
Well,
rain or.
And that factors in. You get a.
I understand what you're
you get a
saying.
heavy rain on the 4th of July, right before the fireworks, and you cancel, now you're bringing everybody back in. I think we've seen that last year.
we did.
You gotta
What
reassemble
I'm saying
everybody.
though is, well, no matter what the event was, the 4th of July, any of these events, it's not like half of this force is not brand new. They know what's been going on every year, and rarely has anything changed. We need to start planning for that better. If we know, yeah, we'd love 150 people for chili cook-off, but 10 people show up for the last 3 or 4 years in a row.
What happens here, we say, oh, only 10 are gonna show up.
Well, you know what, then we're there, You really think it's gonna get out of control, the chili cook-off? It's gonna be,
I can't predict people.
you're right, but I can't predict having any money at the end of the year because we had 20 people on the chili cook-off. So what I'm saying is, we have to plan better for what we know and stop.
Why can't you have somebody on standby? Does contract not allow officers to be on standby? What about having the town have some officers?
Well, that's what I said, we have to talk to the town prior to,
Yeah,
and make sure that whoever they have, Ken's got the numbers, so that we're guaranteed this many people, they actually give us one, if they have two people on, they should use guarantee us one and have the other one on standby. You could be in Fort Montgomery, but if something happens, I mean, you don't have to have 10 officers at Roe Park. You know, just as long as everyone knows it's going on, we're all 45 seconds away from Roe Park in this village.
You know, Roe Park is such a, it could either be incredibly busy, or it could be, and I understand your dilemma, because what do you, I mean, you've got a workforce that has gotta be on call, and you need them there for you, and yet, a thing like the weather could really screw everything up. I understand your point too, and budgeting, I got a budget for the worst and hope for the best. I don't wanna say right.
I don't have a problem budgeting for the worst. But my thing is that I don't want to, if we come down to it and we're scheduling, and we know things are light and we got these extra people, I don't wanna put those other 3 people on just because we have it.
I agree.
That's my point.
They're contractually, part-timers, are they better suited for that type of deal where you got these random days where you need bodies?
Yeah, because I won't put, that's not something we'll put up at the beginning of the year and say, sign up for this. We'll canvass, we do what we call canvassing, we'll canvass a few days, maybe a week before the event.
Right.
Of course, we're looking at the weather, but I predict the weather just as good as the weather people do, so.
I don't see a change in any of the numbers that I'm gonna do as far as budgeting.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is actual
Well,
implementation.
what you can do is just do a estimate for the minimum and then put the rest in overtime. So budget the difference, the alpha between the two, budget it into the overtime
Good
number.
point, yeah.
And then you have it sitting in overtime where you have discretion. And then just have the chief, day or two before, sit down with him and decide, okay, based on everything we know, this is what our manpower needs are gonna be, let's schedule guys. Now, what's the contract say about canceling guys? How much notice?
If they take a shift, they get the shift.
So week, basically week, it's scheduled the week before, right? So you'd have 7 days to make a determination.
This actually, as much as I hate to be the penny pincher, but this is actually probably our best way to go, because you're hurting for overtime now. If we shifted additional hours into overtime, not cutting, no.
But that's where this is at, that's in the overtime.
Oh, this is just overtime.
Yeah, all the stuff,
So
all the stuff
51.
below this first line, that
So
eight
it's already
hundred,
overtime. It's already
all the
overtime.
stuff below this will get you what you're gonna pay in overtime. Now,
Okay,
Okay.
in a good year, we're not gonna go over that amount.
okay, so here's what I'm saying then. What I'm looking for you to do is figure out how to cut this on these days to keep that overtime in your budget for future use.
Done.
That's what I'm looking for. This way you have additional overtime down the road when you need it. See what I'm saying? Let's work on seeing if we can try this, not letting any consideration on safety. You know, we want safety at the utmost, but is there a better way to spend this? Cut off 500 here, cut off 300 here, now we end up with an extra $2,000 that goes into your regular overtime line, and now when you're hurting towards
Mr. Mayor,
April and May, you have more money.
the numbers that you see here is exactly what Bob said. I'm planning for the worst. Doesn't mean that we're gonna come out at the end, so I totally get what you're
That's what-
saying, and that's what,
Well, what I'm looking for is a breakdown then of, if you haven't done it, I'm looking for a breakdown this year of your actual expenditures. How many people did we put on and why? And the reason being, if we don't start looking at some of this stuff, we'll never get better at it. I'm not gonna ask you every week by week, give me a play-by-play of every 50 minutes. And, you know, that's not what I'm looking for. But on these, give us a write-up so that we can say, oh, you know what? Well done. Do you need more? You know what, I did what I did and I'm okay, or I need more. It's not that I just see the same, I don't see any attempt at what we can do. I know some things are cut and dry, but that's this year, that's the challenge that I'm gonna put for you for this year's budget. Is what can we do, and we're not necessarily gonna lower these numbers if they go lower. We can still continue to keep them at this level, the worst case scenario. But now we have a record, 2 years in a row, he was able to cut this by $2,000, put in a regular overtime slot, so we know that you're doing your utmost to make sure every dollar's spent properly. Then when you come and say, you know what, I'm gonna need another $2,000 because we're short in the overtime, I feel way more comfortable saying, no problem, because I saw these 3 attempts, that's what I'm talking about. That's it, I don't wanna spend a lot of time on it, so in my opinion, we're budgeting this, I just wanna make sure we have more.
And it's
Accountability,
exactly,
yeah.
it's planning for the
Accountability.
worst.
Yeah, that's all, just, I'd like to know, yeah, and, you know,
Right.
readmission is.
And my biggest thing is, I want something that says the town turned us down for extra help. You know, the town turned down, was because these are the things that Bob and I can sit down and say, look, it's helping everybody, you know?
In their defense, it wasn't that they turned it down, it's just only one person actually signed up. Chief Quinn put a sign up.
Right, but I'm not talking about their
Nobody
overtime
took
people,
it.
I'm talking about their regular people on, have them here. That's what I'm talking about, have there's not like 20,000 things are happening for Montgomery, that might cut us down 1 or 2 need for overtime, is what I'm saying. Right off the bat.
Traffic post that's vacant.
This is what I'm talking about. So if we can use their people on these days, if we can use the town people for the 2 hours, the 1 hour, the 5 hours,
I'll track that and I'll document.
Right,
where
and that
they went,
way-
Anybody where they went. and-
that's gonna save, if every person, every time you bring them in, that's saving your overtime dollars for later in the year.
Just make a note.
Kenny,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, the training, is all that mandatory, the part-timers, 14 part-timers?
Yeah, 32's the, and that goes right in line with that accreditation, that word that you hear all the time, that's the minimum standards.
Okay, all right. I
So
see.
that's why,
No getting around that. is it?
well, there again, it's planning for the worst, like, you look at the full-timers. That doesn't necessarily mean that, and I'm gonna get to that data you're talking about, because sometimes the training can occur when that full-timer is on shift.
And that's what we want.
I'm not
Or
following.
when we had the
I'm
3
sorry.
guys, when we had that overlap day. It's
This is
like, oh,
overtime
okay.
hours,
Right,
yeah, that's
meaning
that's
we're
looking
bringing
at
them
a
in
worst
after
case,
their
worst case
regular time.
scenario.
right,
and spending this much money on their overtime hours to train them when they're not on duty.
right, okay.
We wanna try to bring them and train them when they are on duty.
So, okay, I
And I'll
see.
even track when they take comp
Right.
for it, so we can track it that way. But
I mean-
that's worst case scenario.
Right. Particularly if we're able to, the times that Kenny's been able to get training on West Point, if they're training on duty, while they're on duty, it's, again, they're 2 minutes away from, if we need an additional officer for some
He's right,
reason,
he's gonna have to leave this.
they can leave, you know?
And the instructors have been good.
Okay,
But again, that's something that we need documented as your attempts. You're not always gonna be able to do it, but the attempt to do it and your successfulness bodes to your success as a chief and the success of the program, and that's what we're looking
I'm
for.
gonna start,
Now, here's a number I find very interesting.
where we at?
14 part-time officers. I haven't
Yeah.
seen 14
That-
part-time
That's
officers
why, that's why.
in a long time. Is this our plan this year, 14 part-time officers?
That's his general fund over there, that one.
That we're going with?
yeah,
I,
we're getting close to
the
that
only
already.
reason I bring that up is because I don't know if this is enough. To come up to 14, aren't we gonna have to need more than 4?
And that's where I'm rolling the dice. You know, you get a retired guy that has a lot of experience, and let's
Okay.
say it's someone from Orange County, one of the hardest things I found with the retired guys is getting used to our records management system. But if I get a retired guy that uses the same records management system, it cuts the training hours down.
How are we doing with our overtime on our part-timers meeting the maximum county hours?
You know, one guy that's been picking up the load because Adam Bruce went down. And then Sergeant Lavelle had his surgery, which wasn't on the job, it was his own doing, so it wasn't a 207C case. So, you know, somebody picked up the brunt of those hours, but we got new guys training right now. We got at least one, we got one of the part-time guys, the new guy is training right now.
Okay,
He'll be able to alleviate some of that.
okay.
That guy should be coming right on board shortly too.
Good.
So that'll level that out, which brings up an interesting thing, we always talk about this, the 207C aspect of it. And we get another guy going down that we make no provisions in the contract for that, so I guess we're just grabbing from the fund balance.
What's that provisions for
Let-
what?
Let's
For
say,
another person
let's say maybe
coming
the
down,
officer
You
gets
can't,
out,
you can't budget for that.
Yeah, how do you?
So we
that's a
just-
tough one.
You can-
kind of deal with it as it
Well,
presents
number
itself.
one, the board needs to get continued legal advice as to how to get to a point where either that person's back to full duty or they're not. A lot of times what happens with 207C is that it sits on the books for well past where it should be. So I would, number one, you can't budget for it. Number two, I would encourage the board to redouble your efforts as far as evaluating whether or not those remain viable cases for both. Now, I know one is not determined yet.
Right.
Okay, so that's still in discussion. The other one, it really needs further review, because if it meets the criteria, that's one thing. If it's needing attention because maybe it doesn't meet the criteria anymore, you might have the ability to change that status.
Could we turn that over to Brian?
Let's
he's-
hit that at the end of this one.
Okay.
Exec session.
All right,
Yeah.
that's it, okay, yeah.
Okay.
All right, moving on. You have anything else, Bob?
Not on that page.
Yeah.
Mayor, one of the things I did want to point out is just the increased recommendation to the board that department heads really manage so that they stay within their budget guidelines.
Right.
Okay, because some of your cost overruns are because you're overrunning on your budget. So I understand that, one thing is to have a reasonable budget, but we got to stay in it as much as we can. All right, because right now, there's a couple departments that are, blowing right past the tracking.
Right.
Okay?
Under emergencies for special events, isn't that what the other page is for? And again, I don't want to keep nitpicking, but I just so I understand what we're talking about. Under emergencies for your overtime, you have courts, demonstrations, investigations, special events. Isn't this special events, or what are we talking about? Give me an example of other special events.
Unexpected events. We always have people coming up wanting to do new events during the year. And, there again, planning for the worst, hoping for the best.
So you're saying a special event other than what's noted on the.
Other than holidays, I guess, and things like that.
Okay.
This special events is other than.
Yeah, these are
Fourth of
these
July.
known events that we do religiously every year. And when I start tracking it and getting you actual data, we can define that a little bit better. And we might have years where, we didn't have any extra events. We might have years like, man, people were off the charts.
Right. Not that, I don't want anybody else on, but also on your special events, if we have to, example, Memorial Day. If for some reason we're bringing an extra person on, I'd rather have it up here than under here. If you know that you're
Known
doing that.
events.
Any known events you're bringing up, because I know these are big events, these are big events. Any other known events, we know we're bringing an extra one guy on, two guys on, I'd rather have them under this, again, so they're more defined, so people understand what we're talking about. The less we have under a general big, that's exactly what we did this past year, by doing taking out the overtime, giving its own line, giving other things their own line, so it was more clear where the money's being spent. Once we figure out where the money's being spent, that's where we can better save the money. Or give you more money. We can't do it after this first year, because the first year is the year we have to work off of. But after 2 years, after we come up to year 14 for our towns, which I know is gonna happen. Well, that'll alleviate it, but
Some of that.
maybe it will, maybe it won't. After 2 years of having the 14,
hope it
that'll
does.
give us a great number to work with now that it's separated. Before, there really was no documentation of exactly what we were looking at. And that's what we wanna do with this too. This way, if someone says, we're using all that, and the taxpayers are like, and we wanna let them know, we're using it for this. And they're like, we don't want that. Then we get feedback.
One of the other things with events that you might want to consider, there's two options. One is event fees.
That's what I was just gonna say. What special events,
Absolutely.
other than, like, let's say a protest, somebody wants to come in and protest, they come in for permit, you gotta pay for a police presence, or,
Sure.
we can do,
You
we
can
can
charge
establish a
you can charge
fee.
event fees.
Because, I mean, you don't wanna do that for a guy who wants to have a function in Royal Park for Boy Scouts or something, but I mean, if it's something that looks like trouble for us, and we're not.
Well, here's the difference, here's how you do it, if it's village sanctioned, the village eats the cost. If it's not village sanctioned and they want a permit, they have to pay for the additional costs.
And we would have no problem with that.
No, as long as you make it clear in your board resolution
Right.
that you state that events that are not sanctioned by the village will now be subject to a fee.
Right.
And you can charge whatever it costs for one police or two police officers for half a day.
As needed, we put in there something.
Absolutely, you can charge a fee. It's very commonly done. The
Yeah,
other
isn't it usually a flat, like,
Yes, it's a flat fee. Like, I'll tell you one thing, like, I know that
a permit?
there are, yes, there's some things where a whole day's use of a facility, $1,000. Okay, that includes labor, support. 6 hours, $250. You can charge fees, but you have to resolve that. That has to be on your books as a village resolution. And Bill Florence would probably have to give you guys a language for that. The other thing you can do is there are certain events that are not village only. It would be very fair to go over to the town, which the town would have jurisdiction to participate with the village police officer, to have the town share in the costs of the event. One good example would be Fall Foliage. Fall Foliage is a town-wide event held in the village.
So is the 4th of July.
4th of July, yes. So it would be very reasonable to say that their A-fund money should be participating in that cost. Right now, historically, what's happened is the village taxpayers have paid the freight for all of it.
For 80% of our budget, we've been paying where it should be
Yeah.
shared. The parks, there's so much. We've got to start piecing that out. And though they've already done their budget for the year, I think that we need to ask for something for some of the things, a little bit, a show of good faith. And then next year, maybe not hit them with everything, but they have got to start taking on some of these pieces. The money that we're spending, we should be near our cap. Because we are paying, and I'm speaking of the choir now, but we're paying 100% in the village, and we're paying 2/3 in the town for the same thing. That's why we're overtaxed.
Yeah, look, ultimately, the village is bigger and the village is gonna probably indirectly gonna pay for a lot of the costs. But if you got a reasonable amount of support from the town, that, look, we understand that there are probably some things that we can help participate in. And if you got some goodwill on that, then you wouldn't have to nickel and dime it. But if you basically get told, no, we're not doing anything, it's not our issue, then you can start costing it out and just saying, this is what it costs, and if we want to do it, the town's got to help participate. And it's as simple as, if there are 2 officers in the town, send one to help in the village and work with the village police. You know? So I just, there are ways for you guys to get funds.
And this is, I take up the time here, which I definitely don't want to, because this is what we need you to do. And then you come to us if you don't get the proper thing. I need you to write up, and that's key that our department heads understand the concept of town and village and really what should be going on. So that we take out 4th of July and we take out Fall Foliage and even National Night Out. Those are town-wide events, and that's how we should be promoting them, as town-wide events. I mean,
Well, ultimately, Mayor,
they're already being
the
promoted as that.
department head, part of their role is fiscal management.
Right.
Okay, and the fiscal management piece is a piece that probably could be built upon.
Wow.
So, you know, that would make sense.
So that right there is a nice slice right off of your special events. Having the town just in agreement on these days,
Yeah, to help patrol Roe Park or something.
not
like
to
that.
sign up for your overtime,
No.
but to give us the actual people that are on,
Support.
so that we don't have to hire more overtime guys.
I mean, look
There's
at it
nothing
this
wrong with
way.
them hiring one overtime,
Right, no, I'm all for that.
Especially on the 4th of July.
I'm all for that, I'm all for them hire, now, when you said they gave us one,
For the 4th, I always put a request in, I can put a request in for
Copy.
town assistance on the fall foliage too.
I want you to put I want you to put a request in.
Absolutely.
How much stuff's going on for Halloween? I wanna see if, we have to stop saying the town, first of all, on camera, the town is more than welcome to patrol in the village.
Well,
I'm putting it out there. We are part of the town, they can patrol. Halloween, one of their people should be coming in periodically, not the whole time, but really, how many areas, and I'm not downplaying Fort Montgomery in any way,
For
there's no sidewalks, there's only certain areas you can.
There's a lot of activity around
Halloween
there.
is one of
It's
the
busy
biggest
down there.
special events.
I think that if you start with Roe Park, yeah, I think if you start with Roe Park, I
Mostly
think
9W.
everybody is at Roe Park.
No,
Skating
it's
rink.
packed, I'm telling you, it's packed behind,
Around the lake.
the lake.
Yeah,
Packed.
Wayne Avenue, all those
Right,
places.
I'm talking, you cannot drive a car down there without people
Yeah.
running to the side.
It's,
of the
it's
road.
busy down around the lake, it really is. And so if you're gonna, I'm not, the
It's
point
one
is
day.
great, but
One day.
bring them in for Roe Park. If you
It's
get
more busy than
everybody
it
from
is
Fort
for
Montgomery's at Roe
July.
Park anyway.
It's more busy Halloween than it is
Yeah.
4th of July.
But I asked them every year for it.
Yeah, maybe you did,
Hey,
if
tweet
we
it
were to
all out.
ask for assistance and set a precedent,
I want
then
them.
maybe coordinate with you, and then from that point on, maybe it's a little easier, I don't know, but it.
Whatever would help.
Most of the
I know
people-
last year it was, the only issue was they just didn't have anybody sign up for that extra detail.
Well, I think, yeah, we gotta reach out to all.
And whoever was patrolling, they couldn't cut free, they had to worry about down there.
Yeah, well, it's.
They have the same
everybody-
challenges we do.
Everybody, yeah, but everybody comes to Roe Park for Fort Montgomery for the 4th of July, so I would think that they should have some presence there. Yeah, maybe we'll approach this at a different angle perhaps, with Pat and I talking.
Yeah, those two angles,
Yeah.
Just the town helping and event fees.
Ken, yep, the contractual, it says line painting, is that for actual,
You're now on street, I believe.
I'm sorry, yes.
Oh, no, you're on
Traffic
traffic.
control. Is that for like he calls it chalking tires and stuff, or is that for
No.
actually painting the
Paint the
roads?
roads.
That's that double,
Why
yeah,
is
all
that
the
under the
lines.
police budget? Who does it?
Why are you paying for it?
Yeah, why are you paying for it? Why should that come out?
Hey, the more I take out of this, fine, it's gonna, just put it on someone else's budget.
I mean, it doesn't really
So
help
what?
us, it's going
I do
somewhere.
not have a problem with that.
I'm just saying, we're trying to define exactly where we're putting, where everything
I
comes
guess
from.
because it's actual, like it says, traffic control maybe.
Yeah, but I would think the state DOT doesn't come out of state police budget, it comes out of the DOT.
Trust me.
Are we talking
We're on
about
traffic control.
on Mountain Avenue?
Under contract, no,
Main
we're
Street
talking-
double yellow lines, the parking
Oh.
lines, the parking lots, the
How
stop
come
lines.
that's not public works?
That's what he said.
I
Oh, I'm
motion,
sorry, I missed.
I motion we move
It's all right.
this, that line painted
I mean, it really only helps you
Kevin
guys.
Hurst,
to DPW.
is that what you're saying?
The money's going somewhere anyway.
do it, though. He
Not
does it,
being
though.
counted.
It's just
Okay.
a board budget.
Yeah, just budget.
What do you do, who do you have somebody that does your line?
Yeah, this guy's been very, I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Kevin might be
He
the
keeps,
one.
his prices
Kevin,
have
same
been,
thing, yeah.
his prices have been the same year after year, that's why there's no
But-
change on it.
In this aspect, you don't actually deal with them, Kevin does, right? Kevin
I'll
does, because
call
it's also
him,
side, but it's also the crosswalks and all the other stuff he's doing.
Okay, so, I would say we should just move that over.
All right, he's up there, just keep us on.
Whatever you guys wanna do, but we need a budget for it.
Right, somewhere.
Is there a reason, because has something to do with
Traffic.
tickets and traffic and whatnot that's there?
And there
It's
It's
for,
been there forever?
That should really go into street maintenance. Street maintenance.
Wherever
I
you
would
wanna
think
put it.
so.
But that's the figure I have, so if you
That's
want
the
to
number.
take that
If
and
you
move it
take
out,
it,
I
yeah.
will
We'll
delete
hurt your
that line,
feelings.
yeah.
Well, the other thing with that, and I'm sure that when Ken works with Kevin, works with his guy, I'm pretty sure he uses the same guy when he's doing any other lines
It is.
in the thing. It only helps us to have a better bulk rate, where if he says, look, if you're doing the lines, do me a favor, while you're there, just do these two for free. You know, two side things. You know, it gives him more,
It's a better number when you
Yeah.
bid it, yeah, if you put
Drop your
Kenny's,
gavel, Mr. Mayor.
I agree.
Motion.
Is he the same guy that does like the fire lines and?
Crosswalks.
It comes out of here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So what do you wanna do, what do you wanna do with that number?
Move that someplace on the street
Should just move the
maintenance.
number.
To their contractual.
Alright, it's 4792.
It's a good pickup, Anthony.
and these are things that I wanna challenge the DPW to do more in-house. But we did give them this, to do in-house, like some of the crosswalks and this and that. And, it was looked at, because we don't have the machine. They had a guy going back and forth with like, I think a can of paint or something. And it was taking a roller, and it was taking forever. This guy, the crosswalk's $8. $8 for a crosswalk done. I don't think we can beat that with a stick. With the time and the paint and everything else.
I'm wondering, is it the same guy that does the school?
I don't think
Well,
so.
that's something we
It's
need
a
to.
school budget thing, but if
That's
we wrap
something we
everything
need-
together,
yeah,
it may.
exactly. 100%. We
All
have to-
around.
We have to get a hold of that, we have to get a hold of the school. You're right, anything here that is doubled in the school, we get a better number, we get one guy who gives the price. So you're taking that on? Call the
Sure.
school?
Yeah.
That's it, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. You like that?
I got that.
This one's working hard. All right, moving on. What else?
We in the 31204 to contractual? I know we kind of jumped off the page a couple of times there.
Well, we covered all this stuff first, but yeah, we're.
Yeah, this is.
Are you guys with all these two pages, you guys are all?
The on-street and the traffic control are probably
Alright.
the easiest one. I like that one was cut out, that makes it even better.
Okay. What's next?
I go to the 3120.4, that's the contractual
Okay.
for the police. Notably, the most significant change is in the vehicle repairs. This year, we went over a little bit what we budgeted for, I mean,
Why?
it didn't kill my point, because the fleet is aging, and cars are breaking down more frequent.
I don't have that paper.
Which one?
So what you're.
The contractual?
Yeah, what you're.
Looks like this, is that it?
Yes.
Oh, I do.
Police department budget, that kind of thing.
Should be in each package should have.
Okay.
And you don't, if you don't, I'll give you this one. Unless,
You better remember it.
Pat, do you have it? There's 3 copies. Do you have that one?
I got one.
All right, here, let me give you,
I need to be
Pat probably has
I don't
yours.
have it.
No, I have Ken's.
Oh, you have Ken's?
Yep.
Oh, all right, well then there's another
You
one
can share with
somewhere.
Anthony, Anthony has his.
I'm sorry, yeah, I do. It's always at the bottom.
Okay.
I appreciate that. So yours is there.
All right, getting back to the vehicle, it's because the fleet's just getting older, and it's just the wear and tear on them, they're getting sent out more, and I
Why are
believe
they, that's my thing, we have a mechanic,
some of the work he can't do.
some. That's another thing, and that's not on you, that's something you're gonna have to ask the mechanic. We have to figure out, all of our, I'm not replacing anything because they start to age. We need to figure out whether we have to buy, or we keep pushing it out, because if we're spending,
We're gonna get that on
$20,000
on my equipment.
What major repairs have you had that we weren't able to resolve for you
Thank you.
recently?
how come you say it so much better than I do?
I'd have to go get the bills for you, and the mechanic, and Kevin Hurst would be able to give you a better breakdown on that.
I mean,
They
transmission,
know-
is it something like?
Stuff like that, the heating system, there's stuff that, they know better what he can and can't do.
Okay, so are these cars, they have the lot, you have a particular vehicle in question that's got a ton of
Oh
miles
yeah,
on
there's
it?
one that should have been replaced last year, and we cut that out of the budget.
Okay,
We've been able to reduce the use of that vehicle, but then the other vehicles pick up,
mileage also?
Yes.
What kind of mileage is on the vehicle in question?
it's over 100,000.
Okay,
And then the 2 Durangos, they're both 2008s, and they're getting up near 100,000, and those are all-wheel drive vehicles, so when those things go down, it costs a little bit more, so I put down an increase to that vehicle repairs, and I compensated the majority of that with the fuel cost, because the fuel costs have gone down, so our projections are a little lower compared to what we projected last year.
okay.
So there was a $4,500 decrease in the fuel, but we increased the vehicle repairs by 5,000. Now, well, we can just balance it out and do a 4,500 increase in the vehicle repairs. I just don't want to run short. And again, there again, I'm planning for the worst, hoping for the best.
We have money in the reserve fund established for this year for police, for vehicle?
We do.
How much was that?
I think it was 10.
10 grand?
10, yeah, it was 10.
Did we have 10 last year
So
also?
we put 10 in last year, so there should be more than just
We
10.
put 10 in last year. No, before that, it was, it's in a reserve fund. It was not a
Established?
established reserve. So you could take money out of that fund balance and
Well, when
plus
we
it
get to my
up.
equipment,
Yeah.
I did budget for a new car, so.
Can you wait another year?
I would recommend then holding that increase to the vehicle repairs at 5,000 then.
Yeah, but just what I'm saying, if we have 3 years, so we put money away, we would have the funding for that vehicle.
Well, another
Quite
option would
possibly
be,
next budget.
another option would be if need be, we lease a vehicle. It might cost you a little bit
How
more in
many
the long
vehicles do we
run.
have?
7 total.
What's the cost on a lease vehicle as far as
It's about,
with
ballpark
unlimited mileage?
12,000 a year. And after 3 years, you can buy it for $1.
How many cars we put out of tour?
2.
Every tour?
So we have 20,000, 19,000 in the budget for repairs, and if it blows up tomorrow, you're saying we can get a leased one for 12 grand until,
Well, we just paid the lease for 3 years.
yeah.
7 vehicles is counting yours?
In the unmarked car.
So there-
There's 2 unmarked, so there's 5 patrol vehicles.
You still wanna press Kenny's car into service, Pat, with signs and stuff on the side, is that,
That's optional. We'll talk about that in a second.
I
The,
don't know if this one blows up or not.
Kenny, the one that's over 100, what year is that? Over 100,000 miles?
That's a 2007?
And what is that about, miles? Like 120,
Ballpark
130?
104, something like that.
How's it running now, Kenny?
Oh, it runs.
Was it a Crown Vic?
Yes.
I have seen it lessen, but I still see the cars running, nobody in,
Idling?
for a good period. It's not like they ran inside to get something. When I asked the officers that were on, they said the last thing that came down to them was, if it's cold, we leave them on. My directive was, I don't want them on. If I get something from a mechanic that says they need to be left on, different story. Never got it. What I did get, and I do understand, is that there's an issue with the possible defibrillators having an issue with them. Well, that could be something like the rifle that's brought inside. I don't think it should be left in the car at all if there's cold temperatures, because if the car stalls out and the officer doesn't realize it, they're inside for 3 hours, and it gets down to freezing temperatures, and the defibrillator's affected, then we're bumming. So the defibrillator during the winter should be coming out every shift. I know it comes out periodically depending on shifting cars, but if they're gonna be inside for hours, the defibrillator should be coming out along with the regular equipment, and the cars need to be turned off. I have yet to talk to a mechanic that says you need to leave the cars running, and I've talked to 10 mechanics.
There are devices out there, Mayor, that will turn cars off if they idle for more than a certain amount of time.
I don't necessarily need the advice on anything, I just want, if I see it on again, someone's gonna get written up. Because the communication is not flowing. That was one of my written directives, that wasn't even just a discussion. And I talked to 3 different officers that didn't understand that. Didn't understand what I'm saying when I said, why is your car on?
The last time you spoke to someone that I'm aware of is when it was snowing out.
No.
Do you want to shut off when it's snowing and icing too?
Why not?
Because they're emergency vehicles, they need to be in a state of readiness. I sent you an email on that.
Right, why are they in the station?
They're either, they got work to do inside, maybe they're an arrest or something. They're not in there just kicking their shoes up on the desk. And they're leaving them running because of the snow or ice.
Okay,
If there was
that's,
a miscommunication with the cold weather, I
okay,
alleviated
it wasn't, the 2 times I talked in the last 2 months, or in the last month, it was not
What do you
snowing.
guys do if you see-
It was not.
If it's-
That's a fact.
If it's
So if you're
snowing,
saying
it's
that,
fine.
no.
if it's snowing? Otherwise, sure, otherwise it's.
Just think about it, if you're going on a call, and it's snowing on a call,
But-
it's gonna take 10 minutes.
and the
to
bottom
get
line is-
car running.
I don't think
So
that, I
it's-
think the
you
argument,
don't interrupt.
and that's my issue, is
Okay.
it is happening.
And if it's
People are sitting
12,
inside,
22,
and
I mean,
if it's snowing out, I want them on patrol. Unless they are doing specific work inside. And if they aren't, I need something documented, because I don't see it. And again, it's accountability, Ken. I'm not saying, I think we have a great group of people. I think we need to motivate them and get them moving, and get them going. And that's all, because again-
Got it. Let's get on with this. We'll those over here till 11.
This, is that for that, that's that number there?
What, are we on Orange and Rockland?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've been
Right.
inching that up because we've been we were way behind on what our
Okay.
estimate was, and this will get us caught up, and we should be good to go.
Okay,
Good to
And that's
go.
why there was an increase, an
that's
increase to
insulation also, is that for new
They will-
location, basically? From utility
They-
company?
They don't charge us.
Let's
What's
talk about that in
Rockland charge?
exec,
Yeah.
and that needs to be talked about as far as state for exec.
I got two quick questions. One is Entergy. We went around, I want to nail this down. We're expecting to have 20,000 as a revenue source, and that's public safety, correct?
That's, I think you made a line like for
Yeah,
that last year.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to budget a $20,000 revenue line for public safety. And then that's going to be put on top of your contractual. Now, this contractual number of 100,000,
Mhm.
does that include the Entergy amount?
Yes.
It
There-
does.
No, a small portion, because the 20 doesn't cover the entire radio lease. You're gonna
Okay.
see a figure in there, radio lease, 1650, it had to jump up because Entergy's been stepping down the amount they've been giving us. I'm working with them right now to try to get that number at a minimum stabilized.
Okay, so which item is this?
Radio lease.
Radio lease, the 4,100?
Yep.
Okay, so what actually is our costs? Because if I'm going to put 20 on public safety, then this
28,200 is the radio lease.
28.2?
Total. Yep.
All right, and where do we have that budgeted?
We don't have that anywhere. We only have radio, our portion of the lease that we cover.
All right, so
Half
that's
is-
what-
Half is on police and half is in dispatch and communications.
Okay, so what we have to do is we have to put it in contractual, and then we have to allocate it as far as revenue on the A-fund revenue. So my question is, where do we have the spending for the radio lease in the contractual budget? And is it enough? Because it has to reflect what you're actually gonna spend.
28,200 is the lease.
Okay, but how much is it in police, how much is it in dispatch?
41, it's split, 4,100 in police, 4,100 in communications.
Where's the other 20,000?
Energy. Entergy supplies the 20.
No, I know that, but I'm talking about the spending side, I'm not talking about the revenue.
We
So-
don't, that's all we spend for the radio lease out of this, and communications is 8,200.
That's what we write the check for? Or do we write the check for 28,000?
They get two, it's biannual.
And what do they, how much do they get?
Half of 28,000.
Okay, so this has to reflect that number. So this has to be 14,100 and,
And then do the same on the.
same on the
Okay.
dispatch, and then I will give 20,000 in revenue to public safety, so it's properly reflecting the
And then we
spending.
transfer from it, or?
No, it'll just basically, when the bill comes in, the expense will come out half in each department, and we know we're getting the revenue on the public safety line, okay, of $20,000.
So I'm gonna change it then from 4,100, I'm gonna put 14,100.
If that's what our total spending is, we have to reflect the spending in our contractual.
Okay.
Where was the other 20,000 reflected here in the spending?
It's not. That's why we're having a problem. We're
That's-
getting.
You know, I don't know if, you're aware of what Ed's saying? Okay. Where was the other
It was
20,000?
never put in there before.
We never budgeted for?
No, because
It was just,
it was canceled out before.
So you didn't budget it because you knew Entergy was paying for it?
yes.
Okay.
But
No,
accounting wise, it's not
Exactly.
correct.
Well, that's exactly what we're trying to do.
That's why we were having problems with this all
Right,
the
I got
time,
you.
looking for the
Right.
money. You know, the chief would go over and say, hey, I got this money, you know, I need to
That's
pay this
why,
bill.
that's why there was an issue.
Yeah, so, yeah. if
By
I-
doing that, now we'll know
Yeah.
exactly where your money is, so when you're looking for it.
As long as you
it's
guys
there.
understand what that number is, I don't want you to fall out of your chairs.
No, but
We're telling you to put it on.
No, but you're
We may
backing
do that
it,
anyway.
you're backing it up with the revenue.
Make no guarantee.
Okay, so you know you're gonna get the 20,000, so you know that you're
Right.
not gonna need tax money to pay for that.
Right, and just so you know, I'm fighting to increase Entergy's contribution, because they're fighting me to decrease it.
Well, how
So,
much are they fighting to decrease it to?
They ultimately want to get it down to 15,000.
Keep fighting.
No,
I'm gonna keep fighting,
tell them
just
now.
letting you know.
Well, my other question is, I think that Ken's the only one going to Energy. I think that all our departments need to go to Energy. because energy is supporting a lot of other
Let
departments
me
throughout
lock down
other
this
counties.
radio lease money first.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay,
They're
so-
just- they're totally other areas.
And I made that adjustment.
All right, so that's, so, and
You
and
see
it's,
radio lease on
Yeah,
communications, same
yeah,
thing.
all right, so that's
Yep.
gonna be 14.1?
Yes.
Okay, all right, so again, when we do the bills, we know that we've got the revenue, the 20,000 plus the 8.2 that we're gonna take out of whatever other sources, whether it's sales tax or real property taxes to pay for it. And then you'll be able to, oh, what's going on over there?
I'm just gonna try to beat him to the back.
Oh, okay. So, so you're,
So when
so
I-
you know now when it is, just reference the fact that you do have the revenue for it, okay?
Because I
So,
wanna be made whole.
yeah, so you'll just
Or
spend
you'll-
it out of
you'll
that
track
expense line. So when you get the bill, it's gonna come out of contractual half,
I'll pay half the year, I'll pay.
it's gonna be half out of
30.2004.
31,2004 and half out of 3020.4.
Correct.
Okay, so you'll
I'm
basically,
gonna code it as it is.
correct,
Alright.
that's how it's gonna be coded, okay? So that way we don't have to hunt for that.
We get our fuel municipal bid, is that to people for gasoline?
Yes.
What's the number? I know you got,
Heritage, I think that's
you
the,
got it here, but what's it currently? I know you gotta figure in something, it's like hitting a moving target. How did you come up with 350 being, it's so volatile this whole.
Yes, because the last year was $4,
Is that,
Guesstimate.
okay, yeah.
and we were good. because the gas-
350 is a good number.
Because the
I
gas-
don't know what we're
Even if
paying
it
in
shoots
municipal
up
bid.
above
Yeah.
that, we should be okay, because it's not gonna do that well.
Well, it's, I don't know what is that a municipal bid now? Is it,
Well, the thing is that when you do the bid, I don't believe that that's just fixed. I think that there is a floating scale. It's just that they, percentage-wise, I think are gonna match it.
they're playing the odds, but I'm wondering, you know, my point is, I'm not saying that number is, it seems high because pump
It
prices
is
are
high.
down, but I don't know if it's gonna stay that way. I think long term, we got so much oil, we got coming out of our ears now, so I
Well,
think
that's
it's
good, because then
expecting that it's
that
gonna
number,
continue
then
to
this
drop.
number will continue to drop.
Yeah.
And, you know, because I had to increase the vehicle repairs, it kind of absorbed that savings that I had on the fuel.
See, I don't know what a good number is, I'll go through.
Well, it's a
the
good,
budget, so,
that
yeah.
350 is conservative, I agree. I think oil goes to 30 before it goes to 60.
I think so too.
Okay, but
That'd be nice.
right now, the way it's being budgeted at 350, I think you wanna be conservative.
Okay,
Yeah,
just asking.
Yeah.
that's why I didn't make a drastic swing. I was
Yeah,
tempted to, I was like, all right.
you know, yeah, because if you do, then it's gonna go up, you know, I'd rather be err on the side of caution here and have some money in the bank when we're done with that.
Okay, all right, so Ken, I've got,
Also,
the
that's gonna
20,000
increase.
in for public safety,
Mhm.
okay? And then on the expense side, you're gonna have it split, so
Yes.
there shouldn't be any issues with the Entergy going
Right.
forward,
Right.
okay? The second question I had is we have 7 cars, what are the ages of the cars?
Well, the one's
If you
07.
don't have it all, if you can just give it to me, because the one thing I want to recommend that the board does is that they space the cars out enough that you're only replacing a car every 3 years or something like that, okay? Now, is a car gonna last 21 years? Probably not, okay? But, maybe not all 7 are gonna be utilized in the same way. Chief's car doesn't get as much mileage as a
Car last
regular
year,
patrol car.
30 years, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you have 6 cars in the mix that you have to set up for, and maybe it's every 2 years it gets replaced, I don't know. But you need to have, you shouldn't get in a situation where you're buying 3 cars at once, because then they're all gonna have problems at about the same
Well,
time.
that's been the
Let's
struggle.
space them out.
That's what it
We
looks like
were
they
able
are.
to, not last year's budget, the 2 previous budgets, we were able to get 2 new cars and rotate 2 older cars out.
Yeah, but that's,
We were
I
trying-
believe,
that's what he's-
because you're using debt to get them.
We were trying to catch up,
Yeah.
and right now, we're in a situation right now where, yeah, definitely one has to go. And
Okay.
then you got 2 of them that are 2008, so those are your Durangos, the all-wheel drive vehicles. Those 2 cars are past their lifespan. And we've been putting money in both of those Durangos.
I thought I remember, it was almost the rare occasion that we didn't buy a cop car during the budget each year. I thought it was like almost every year we bought a cop car, then you miss the one for year 4 or 5, then it was,
If you had it spaced out right and you're replenishing this reserve fund,
well, we never had a reserve fund before, so
Right.
there was always borrowed money or,
Mhm.
so, or come out
well,
of.
that's why I recommended last year when we were doing the budget, with the vehicle maintenance. I'm tracking.
How much
and-
is the vehicle?
And we, I budgeted 14,000 for vehicle maintenance,
Right.
we only spent 8,000. My recommendation was, why don't we take that money, that extra money that was there, that leftover money, and roll that also into the reserve funds, on top of the 10,000?
I think that's a wonderful idea, and I think that we're right on track with that. If we've got 10 in there every year, and it's like, we get a new car every 3 years, or whatever, if we can get away with that, we'll have the finances to purchase a car, and we won't be borrowing any, because, make no mistake, I mean, if we didn't do a car last year, and if we don't do one this year, for certain, we're gonna be buying one next year, there's no doubt about it.
Well, you might lose one during the year.
Yeah. it's-
Well, the other question too is that, you know, what is 7 the right number for cars?
Well,
For
yes,
this size
absolutely.
village? Is that a correct number? I
Right.
don't know.
I think it's a little excessive, but, you know, that's my opinion, I
Well,
don't
so let's just
have.
get rid of this car and use the rest of it to buy another.
Well, you know what, no, the
You're gonna wear
way
and
to
tear
do
on
that,
one, you're gonna put more wear and tear on it.
just look at other villages in Orange County and find out how many cars they're using. You know, really,
I'd
there's,
love to do that, because they got more than we do.
I'd love to go back to what Ken just said, so we actually almost, again, I am, as much as I'm cutting it, I'm about incentives. And I think that we have to do what you were just saying and Ken was saying. We plan for the worst, and you do what you can through the year to save money. I have no problem with that saved money getting rolled into your accounts, your reserve funds, your equipment reserve funds.
Absolutely.
Your guns, your vests. I save this money, it goes back into the police. That gives you more incentive, because I'll tell you what, I don't care, the nicest guy on the planet, the best guy, if he's not getting it back, he's using it all, and he's using whatever he can use it on. And it'll be wasted,
I like the
instead
idea
of,
establish, you know,
Right.
the reserve fund, that money goes into that, that's wonderful, so.
and that's your biggest
Well,
goal.
at least we'll have some
It is
finances if,
Well,
if,
I suggested that last year, now, let's say we agreed to do that, I've expended all the vehicle repair funds, so,
from last year.
but that's, you can do that with anything in here.
Everything.
I agree with
I
what
want
you're
it, I
saying.
want it without it. I want, you want stuff to be.
I don't remember what the number was.
I'm keeping that for reserves. Go talk about that in a day, anything you can.
Well, there's 10 in the reserve, but I'll give you the vehicle maintenance.
And that's why I've got money.
So what do we need for a vehicle, 35,000?
Which vehicle maintenance? You're talking about,
How much is left over for vehicle maintenance last year, did you say?
None.
Oh. we-
No, last year
We're
was
in
a
the
tough year.
negative, we're in the negative there, so that's why.
That's why he's saying he needs a new vehicle.
Right.
And that's gonna get to you as a chief to come up with, but we have, if we don't have the money, we can't spend it.
That's
I
fine,
agree.
Explorer.
And I'll track that better.
We need Explorer. I want something more efficient that will last longer, especially in city travel. You know what I'm saying? You definitely need an Explorer.
Yeah, well, either way you go with these new Fords, they're all-wheel drive
All-wheel drive,
vehicles.
yeah, yeah.
The Explorers are so much nicer because they sit up higher and they're a little bit more.
You're not gonna
rugged.
like the little Fusion,
Not too small. You guys use Fusion? With cages in them?
it's cheaper to run, to maintain.
With cages in them too? Can you bring your stuff in?
I don't have
Some
one.
guys in it?
Only the new guys, only the big boys are getting.
Oh.
I still have an Impala, 10 years old.
Well, an Impala's a bigger car.
Yeah. No, I like the Impala.
but,
But that's nothing, isn't an Impala cheaper than, will we have to go for?
No, but we have a Ford fleet, so
Ford's better car.
mix them up.
I just, if you can just give me the years of the cars, so we can look at how that's spaced out.
Yeah. And do you think other departments have more vehicles, Ken, that they're similar in size and population?
At least equal amount of cars.
If like Ken said, if they were spaced out properly, I think 7, put with the 2 on marks, is good. But since it seems like there's 4 cars that are right on top of each other,
Okay.
they can all go at once.
I guess my question is, what can we afford?
Yeah.
If we're establishing a reserve fund with 10 grand in it a year, and we're gonna buy a vehicle every 3 years, so it's gonna sort of,
At one point,
eventually we'll
how
figure out
much-
what
how
that
much is
magic
the
number
vehicle
is,
about?
you know?
Well, that's what I'm trying to lock down that exact figure. New
Explorer.
York State hasn't did a New York State bid pricing, they haven't approved a contract in a number of years now. So what agencies have been doing is working with other counties that are putting vehicles out to bid, and we did it 2 years ago, right, Gina? We did a seal bid. And the car companies, some of them are honoring these bid prices that the counties are getting. And I talked to Nikon last year, and they said, yeah, that's perfectly legit.
What's a ballpark?
So
Approximately
ballpark,
37. for an Explorer. is what
The
you have.
Explorer is more expensive than,
Right.
yeah.
I just see with the city travel, city type streets we have, we had to get a car right now. I mean, I personally like an Impala, it's more maneuverable. And
It's not
it
all-wheel
is bigger.
drive.
It's not, I don't
I
think
know
it
it's
is.
not all-wheel drive, so in the summer you only, in the winter you're only gonna have front-wheel drive. But
Well, in the,
something cheaper than Explorer.
60 to 70% of the winter, we're not dealing with the snow. It's only like 40% of
But
the
the
winter.
problem when you have, especially the last two winters, when you only have two all-wheel drive vehicles, and we had it happen this year,
You
one of
run
them goes
24/7.
down, and they're going 24/7. You gotta give those cars a break.
None of our other cars are four-wheel drive?
With the two Durangos.
Just the two Durangos are.
And they're 08s, you said.
What about front wheel? Everything front wheel
They're
or?
all rear wheel.
Yeah, that's,
That's what I'm saying, Impala's front wheel.
Right.
But now there's no more Crown Vics. The Crown Victorias are done, now they're Ford Interceptors, the Taurus, and they're all-wheel drive vehicles.
Right.
So you can't go wrong, whether you go Explorer would be a little bit more expensive, but we can go either way, because they're both all-wheel
Right.
drive vehicles.
And it's better on gas also, I mean, I know pension pennies, but in the long run, at the end of the year, you're gonna save some fuel costs
Right.
on a Interceptor than a
Explorer.
Explorer.
Okay, moving on.
That's
Well, questions on the contractual, any other questions on the contractual?
So now the biggest jump you'll see on contractual is that 14,100. Yeah, they spent on
But that's not a review.
that. If you wanna go down line by line, there was no change with the oxygen, 1,400.
Now, we're working with the ambulance on that, we're all
Mhm.
on the same team on that?
Yep.
Okay.
And that number can go down, and it probably will.
Right, right, no, I'm
So-
not worried about that, I'm all concerned, number's the number. All I'm concerned is that we're working with them, because to my knowledge, that saved us a good amount of money.
Oh, yeah, we were
We did
up
switch.
there with the oxygen.
The maintenance,
The uniform maintenance increased slightly because of the contractual, that's a contractual item. Uniform replacement, I kept the same, miscellaneous supplies the same.
how many people are we talking about for replacement of new issue for $6,000?
If I had to fully outfit somebody, and here you go looking, worst case, it's $2,400.
Okay.
Fully.
That's what
Okay,
we're.
But we have equipment that we can issue that's used.
My question is $6,000 and the 5,200 for the part-timers, is that gonna get us to where we need to go, these two? Is this getting us to where, which I know. Is this getting us to where we need to be, so when we have 14 part-time officers, they are all fully uniformed?
Yes, real quick.
I understand that's.
That's me.
I know that.
Okay. But yes,
But right now, we only need maintenance for 7. Because we only have 7 or 8 part-timers. What I'm saying is, when we get to 14, this is going to be enough, if we need new uniforms for all of them, because they're all 462 pounds, this is gonna do it. All right.
what's the difference, the part-timers,
they get the same amount of equipment that the full-timers do.
is that every department, or is it just here? Because it's
No,
a
most
full-
Some
departments.
departments give you a uniform,
Allowance.
just a uniform allowance to buy all your equipment.
Does the town do that? They have to buy their own uniforms, don't they, the part-timers?
No, they get.
Do they get?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't think you wanna give them a uniform allowance to purchase their own, cause that, most departments get like $1,900, $2,000 just for equipment.
Okay,
And you're doing that every year, that adds up.
yeah.
Where, you issue,
And
a
you
gun
don't end
belt,
up-
for example,
And you
will
don't end
last.
up getting new uniforms on officers, because they have to spend it for uniforms all the time.
The
Then
main
you
thing
start
that
getting crappy.
we're replacing right now with these new guys coming in is we definitely are getting new pants and shirts. I'm able to recycle the gun belts, which is your biggest expenditure.
And the guns, I see you got guns somewhere, I just saw this, so.
Yeah, that's on the,
Okay.
point two, we're
Wait
working
till I
on
get
point
there.
four. So there was a lot of zeros, a lot of no changes on the contractual.
Okay.
The only movement we had was ammunition, the price of ammunition went up.
That's what I understand, a whole lot did it? Is it, ammunition got very expensive?
Yeah, they do state bid pricing on them, but they renewed this bid and it went up a little bit.
Okay.
So we're using state on that?
Mhm.
On your office supplies, I need a breakdown of
There was
that.
no, yeah, no change on
I
that.
understand that, I want a breakdown because I'm trying to figure out between departments, is Sue doing all the buying for departments, or departments by their own?
I don't know why they're wrong.
See,
You should centralize.
we gotta centralize it, because Sue's gonna get it a much better thing, they can go to them, so we don't have to deal with it. But it's, where Sue's a purchasing agent, he's a cop. You know, this is I think that
She's gonna
we're,
get a better deal.
she's gonna get a better deal, we'll get a better bulk
Well, one
deal.
of the things that you want to centralize the office supplies
Right.
in the office supply storeroom. Office supplies are the biggest things that walks,
Right,
okay?
and it's
The more
wasted.
scattered it is, the less control you have.
Right.
Now, it's not, a gigantic number, but it's definitely something you might want to consider. It's normally done with office supplies.
Right.
What do
That's
you wanna-
that's
what do
something
you wanna
I
do
wanna
with
look at to do this year, huh?
What do you wanna do with that then?
Well, this year, we're in the middle budget.
Right.
We really can't, I'm not in the mood to do that. But this is the year, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna actually, we can still budget that and move it over in
Okay,
a month or two and start centralizing in the next month or two.
okay.
But I don't wanna
Now's
change
not
any of
the
these
time.
numbers,
Right.
well, we're gonna change how we do it. Janitorial supplies, it's only 730. What is that? Cause we clean everything.
We should have in-house stuff, all your soap and stuff, and they use some of our cleaners.
We're paying them. No,
Don't know.
they don't put soap in the things?
So they don't buy our, no, they don't refill our soaps, we buy that ourselves.
Alright, give me a breakdown of that, do not let them use a taser if they try.
I will.
That's our soap.
They got worse to use our bucket.
Same thing with the copier services, we're not changing it, but that's what, I wanna look at that as, again, centralizing it. Training, tuition, travel, and conferences. What are we talking about as far as, training?
That's for me.
Okay, so this is just you, so 2400.
There has been a change on that. No change.
I'm understanding there's no changes, I'm just checking to make sure, because I
No,
haven't
that's
answered the
okay.
question.
No, because it's kind of vague on that, like,
What is that for?
what's that?
What is this for?
When they have the Chiefs conferences, it's kind of like your NICOM stuff.
Right,
And any other training that I go to that's sponsored by a part of the Mid-Hudson Police Chiefs, Orange County Police Chiefs, the state police chiefs. And they always put training on or conferences, and I haven't been able to go the last 2 years.
so you haven't spent a lot of it?
No.
Well, this is one of those
And
things.
I can
even
track
though-
that and, yeah.
Well, that's what I'm talking about though, even, now you're budgeting for it,
Mhm.
and I don't have a problem with that. But if you're not gonna spend it, you're gonna lose it. This needs to roll into your, this is what I'm talking about, okay? And after maybe 5 years of you never spending it, we may adjust it on you.
Gotcha.
But,
Well, remember, the board, you guys approved training anyway.
Right.
So
We-
you're
yeah,
just
we never say
budgeting
no.
for.
no, but what
it.
I'm,
You still
right,
can-
and that's why I don't wanna change the number, what
Yeah.
I'm saying is that what we were talking about before, where we could get these vehicles and other equipment lines up quicker,
Mhm.
by rolling this stuff in, and if he's, and I'm not saying don't go to the conferences, but I'm saying, make sure each line item, when you're not using it, it's moved over. That's part of your administrative position.
Well, it can be demonstrated that that was saved.
Right.
And then you could, Ken, you could put a report together of the money that you didn't spend in the year, and then provide that to the board so they can see that there was a lot saved,
There's that bonus.
Here's the other piece, and maybe it's doable, maybe it's not. Telephone along with cable and internet, everyone's doing their own.
Yeah.
There's
we
no,
should. I don't
there's
know.
no, I don't know if we're looking at a better deal, one bill, meaning that, please do their own, the water does their
Oh,
own,
okay, yes.
everyone does their own.
We share for the building, we share
Well,
that.
that's because you're next to it.
Let's see you.
They don't do that for DPW and,
You-
what I'm saying is if we get a single bill, we might be able to get a better,
I don't know if the phone company,
Right.
but it'd be worth looking into.
that's all, what I'm saying is it has to be.
I actually think that we have, I think ours is one bill and we're in like different counties.
It also is to me better,
But we have different phones in here, we have like voice over proxy,
right,
so it's like hooked to a computer.
but it's all the same company.
Yeah.
It's Verizon.
Yeah,
Or it's Time Warner, one or the other.
yeah, it's fine,
Doesn't matter.
yeah,
Well-
I hear what you're saying.
Is Verizon pulling fiber on Main Street?
Oh, I think that was cable. Was that a Verizon truck?
I
or-
don't know, it was a
I
subcontractor.
think it was cable.
Was it cable? Okay, I wasn't sure. I said, ooh, I hope that's
Files?
fiber.
Well, no, the cable's not gonna do fiber.
No, but that's what Bob's asking, it's,
No, it's probably,
I didn't see
I
any
wish
name
it
on it, but there were
probably,
subcontractors.
probably fiber.
Okay.
I did hear that they were looking to come in here, they're not gonna come into Fort Montgomery, but they were
wouldn't
considering.
that be nice?
Oh,
Wouldn't we get a heads up that they were coming in, or they just go and
I
pull
saw-
cable as they please?
You
was-
take care of
There were
that?
They need
subcontractors.
permits.
Yeah, well, there were subcontractors. I didn't see any names on any of the trucks, so I'm just guessing what they were pulling. It was, you know, I saw the real setup. We went outside of town the other day, but I didn't know if it was fiber they were pulling, which would have been good news, you know.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry.
It would just, it'll help you in your competition for cable
Yeah,
versus,
absolutely.
fiber.
Okay, I'm done with that. Anyone else, any others on that? I'm good. Bob? anything?
Who's, Impact, that's state thing?
That's our records management system.
Okay, yeah.
And the county is trying to work on, what we decided to do was reach out to another vendor to try to make it more competitive.
Yeah,
Impact.
they've been doing
Is
this
there like-
forever, right? There's never been anybody else? Is there anybody else?
Currently, there is, but you gotta get everyone in the county to buy into it.
Oh, okay, right.
So,
Plug this in downstairs,
you know,
I'll be
they're-
right back. Just
So you
they've
inherit-
identified somebody, they just gotta present it to everybody, and all the chiefs
Okay.
gotta buy into it, or the municipalities.
Right, you'll have an option.
Ken, the impact license fee on the contractual and then the one under communications, is that the same or is that just split again? Computer software maintenance impact.
Are you looking at dispatch?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 50%,
Okay.
yes.
So it's split just like the,
And we talked about this last year, we can roll them all into one
it's the same.
one contractual. That's just the way it was set up, and I don't know who set it up like that, but I wouldn't have a
There's
problem
probably a
with
reason
that.
for it,
Yeah, I mean, if it's not broken, don't fix it, but if we really felt we wanted to consolidate them, I don't have a problem doing that.
Yeah.
But that is half.
You got another 250 on janitorial, they're stealing their soap too, or in the communications?
Split.
They have
Well,
separate,
no, we're 400.
yeah. Huh.
$700.
Well, I'll give you, I'll
What's
be able-
miscellaneous?
Listen, I will track it better this year.
Right, I think the track miscellaneous better, because that's a lot of money miscellaneous.
Where you at?
I'm on contractual communications right now.
Jumping all over here, hold on one second.
I'm through that already, I'm
Missed that memo.
A number jumped off the page, I think he just said it.
Yeah, well, let's, we really got to that.
If someone's done anything before that, go ahead, that's my next number. Again, I'm not cutting it, because there's a reason you put it on there, I'm gonna need some more
Accountability.
accountability, because obviously that number came out of this past year.
And, yeah,
I'm gonna
and
need
it's
a list
carried over
of-
from the previous year,
Right.
yes.
And if there's certain things that are carried over, then give them a line item rather than miscellaneous.
All right.
Like if there's certain set things, like it's always going to this, give it a line item so that we are clearer on, because your miscellaneous shouldn't be that high. Unless you guys have issues that are coming up every year. But if they're the same issues,
I will get you
Call
a
what
better,
it is.
I will get you a better breakdown on that.
now I know I asked this last year,
And that was,
the dictaphone,
Yeah, isn't that something
That's the
that's
recorder system.
prehistoric? You know?
right.
well, it's got a different name, but it's the voice recorder for the phone system.
Yeah.
It's just, we
Works.
never changed the name, it's,
Okay, you're still calling it something that it's
Yeah.
not, sort of,
it's a
in
dictaphone.
past.
What's it actually called, you know? Oh.
I can't.
Yeah, find the cool name, put it on there and impress us.
That's
I know you like that. We're not gonna get into it
I have lieutenants that call, there's a dictaphone too, it's not.
Because that's what it was,
When you were.
Two high back
I
chairs?
call it voice
Did we do
recorder.
that last year? No,
I thought we
that's-
did it last year.
Yes, you did do that last year.
Oh.
They're getting a
That's
new chair every
must.
year?
Yeah, because we take the chairs that they replace, we put
Roll
those in
in
the
the
back.
back.
We don't put it on my budget and budget for chairs. There's a lot of chairs in that building.
Have they been getting two high back chairs every year?
Sorry? I don't remember.
And dispatch, they need to rotate those chairs out, they sit
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah, they wear that out.
And like I said, before they're totally busted, we rotate them into the workstations and, the booking room or interview room. Before we throw them out.
This way over
I
here.
just had an officer complain about that, why did we get the dispatchers used chairs? It's like, don't ask.
You just replaced all of
So I don't wanna
them.
budget for more chairs.
So you just do the
I
2
mean,
years.
it's,
Any other questions on communications?
No.
Okay, yeah, a breakdown on that, and then I'm gonna need some are you making some notes? Explanatory thing on the janitorial. All right, I am definitely serious about that.
on that.
All right, on both. On, and the other biggest
Right,
thing,
do that on the-
You sure it's not in the contract for the janitorial services that they have to use our stuff?
No, they're not, listen, they're bringing their own, we do have our own cleaning
No, I'm
supplies
not-
in-house,
I don't
so
think we-
they do bring their own stuff.
Believe it or not, New York City,
They use all your
they
stuff?
come in and have to use our stuff.
Oh, no, they bring their own stuff.
Well, they probably don't want people bringing stuff into the station.
Right, the whole MSDS stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's probably why that's.
but
I don't
with
think
us, and
that's
I'm
an issue
not,
here.
I'm not trying to be that guy, even if they use our bucket, somebody trips over our bucket, we're probably still liable if they trip over theirs, because we're contracted.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm just saying, let's use their stuff. We're paying them.
But they are not refilling our soap with their, they're not bringing in that stuff, and I don't know if that was part of the contract. I think they were just to clean the floors, the carpets,
You know,
dust.
if we provided for them to refill, it would be sort of, you would think that they would do it. I mean, if you had the gallon of soap there to fill the dispenser.
Right, but I mean, we could, but see,
take
that's
that
where,
out.
that's where, again, the thing like when we had an issue with, like even in the back here with the ice and the snow, we're all men and women here. Everyone grab a shovel and shovel it out. We don't need to hire a specialist to knock ice off the side of that wood, or the side of the road.
Well, we, as long as they're not, we don't want a police officer falling in 207C, so.
I don't want a DPW guy falling, I don't want Bob Mellon.
That'll be 207C.
Because he went back there. But what I'm saying, I'm not talking about every day, but for basic, like, you went back there and you wiped out the water. There's certain things, you can refill the
beat that
soap.
ice with the crowbar.
I know that, thank you.
Thanks
You
for
can,
pulling
they
me
can
off the
refill
ladder.
it. The less stuff that we give out, now the one thing I wanna know, I don't see it here, is this part of your janitorial? The replacement of the mats, where's that?
Don't you lease
It'll
those?
be a miscellaneous, no, we did away with that, that was a
Okay.
temporary fix, and I got some numbers from Ray Alter.
Right.
So the ones in there now?
They're gonna be gone,
Okay.
yeah, we're just waiting for the pickup. I gotta get Ray to, he gave me a price of $1,300. Maybe that's what miscellaneous was, I don't know.
You need to bring us the number of the lease compared to the number of him, because if we're getting the place clean, they're cleaning the carpets anyway. It's part of the job.
But I wanted to get two more, not to get off subject, I wanted to get two more quotes to replace the rugs, so we can have our own.
They have-
Right.
They have those guys that come around and replace the mats every 2 or 3 weeks. so
That's what we were doing, and they're too
that
expensive.
didn't work out, okay.
They're too expensive.
Okay,
Well,
I didn't realize
it
that.
does work out for the company.
Yeah.
For us, it costs a lot of
No,
money.
the way I was saying is, we get like a Ray Alter, whoever has the lowest price, they come put our carpets down, our cleaning people are responsible for cleaning those rugs. So at best, you would have to maybe replace them once a year.
If we weren't having a cleaning service in, then it'd be a different story. I'd say go ahead and replace them out, that gives these guys one less thing they would have to clean per se. Okay, but we have a cleaning service that comes in,
Okay.
they should be doing it.
So I'm working on getting
But we-
the other two.
We gotta compare the price of the mats, the cost of buying the mats compared to the cost of,
Oh,
the lease.
it's much cheaper to outright buy them.
So, okay.
Because we have the cleaning company. If we did, and you
Right.
brought up a good point, if we didn't have the cleaning company, then keep the service that you're talking about that we currently were using.
Okay.
the only other thing as far as budget, as far as keeping, I'm just gonna keep it reiterating. The cameras that we have up right now, the $25,000 ones we have on the buildings and around town, because we're on communications. We have got to, I'm gonna keep saying it, we've got to make people aware that they're being used, because a lot of money was spent on them. And meaning that I have to have tickets, I gotta have some kind, not
Results.
tickets, results. I gotta have results saying, we saw this happen, we saw this happen, there's gotta be a report. I'm not talking about every time you do your report, maybe you do it every other month.
How about I email it to you guys? I would rather not discuss some things in public.
That's,
That'd be fine.
that's
That'd
fine.
be
Just as long as we know that the cameras are being utilized, because to me, the question is still in flux as far as dispatch. Not even when we consolidate, but people are asking now, or when, are you keeping dispatch for the village? Yes, I wanna keep dispatch for the village, but the dispatch has got to work with us to justify their job. I'm good with the basic, keeping them just because of what they do.
Right.
But when you compare 911 to the local dispatch,
You need some good,
you need the extra, I
Well,
need
you
the extras to
have
sell
a
it.
very big cost difference.
Right, and I need the extras to sell it. And those cameras are a perfect,
thing to make you guys shine over there.
Exactly.
You know, without that, without the information, I have no argument to stay there. So, with the information that you provide us on this issue, when people ask us which we're leaning toward, we could give them some, information.
Reassurance
Yeah,
that there's some, more than just your basic
This is why
benefits from
this
them.
is why we're doing this, and this is why we elected to stay, or go, or whatever,
give us a quick, at the next meeting, and Zach, or whatever you want to put it, the range of all your cameras, where they're covering.
Okay.
Just so we know the coverage of the village we have now, including, what's the situation at Road Park, that's a static camera? All right. Okay, thank you.
And I wanna say that I did get us, and I got you some prices to run a camera, one of the high-end cameras.
There's no way we can do that
I
with that
remember
grant.
I remember you giving us that, I don't remember what it
And
was.
that's what we decided on, if we can get money, if I can get money from a grant, or somebody can get us money, then we would do it. But
Right.
yeah, at least there, that would be our next priority.
What page we at, guys?
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm on 5 pages here. I don't know
At
if
once.
you want-
At once.
I'm looking at everyone.
You're good.
Equipment.
Waiting for one to jump.
Well, I'm good with, I looked at communications, police contractual. If I could just do that.
Yeah, that's one.
The last thing we need to cover was the police equipment, the 3120.2, and. Should have,
47,000?
yes.
Talk to us about the, or we already talked about the Explorer.
Right.
We're we're not, I'm just thinking, put it to the reserve this year.
10,000, yeah. So 36 is off?
That's me, that's just me.
I
I don't think, unless we can see what things we can get for a cheaper vehicle, if we can get something in the 20s, if we're putting 10 in, we have 10 in already,
well,
we might be able to do.
the only thing I'm thinking about here is, he mentioned big, and we both agree on all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. I don't know what you're gonna get for 20 grand with all-wheel drive on it that's big enough to accommodate your needs.
I still think we can go with
The
front-wheel drive.
Interceptor, the
Yeah.
Interceptor would be an all-wheel drive car,
Right.
which would be cheaper than this Explorer.
Who makes the Interceptor?
Ford, it's a Taurus,
Okay, all right. Is this a police version of a Taurus?
yes.
Okay.
So that 36 would be the absolute high end.
On a
On the-
Interceptor.
Well, on the Interceptor, it would be cheaper than that.
I'm just saying you can get it in the 20s, not 20, but I think we can get it in the 20s, don't you think, for a car?
Well, if you stick with the, I was talking to Danny Zinn, and if we stuck with the Interceptor, the Taurus, the lights that are on the Crown Vics would fit onto that, so you would save money
Light
there.
package would fit, yeah.
And we'd be able to use the center console, I believe. There's things that you would be able to use in that car.
Who, does Danny switch that over, or does our mechanic switch that over?
Danny does that, doesn't he?
Why can't our mechanic do that?
That's a lot of work.
It's,
Yeah, it's
Danny
full wire.
specializes, that's something that you gotta have a little bit more expertise in it. And I don't even know if our
Okay.
mechanic would have the time
I
to do
I
it.
think that it's a lot, very involved. Sometimes you have to take the whole nose off the car to get certain things in there, and.
He can do,
it's
I think
just-
our mechanic can do some things, but even everywhere I've seen, they've always had a special.
They do, and because
do the
basically,
light package.
I think that you really,
Radio.
your warranty work, you need somebody, I don't know if our mechanic did it, if our warranty would be.
You know, you need a,
Does
like an
Danny's-
approved, authorized
Yeah,
install.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
to bring a
Danny's
car,
everything.
you don't wanna be,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's a
Yeah,
talented
does a lot.
guy.
Yeah.
He's
Yes, he
talented.
is.
You just don't want you want the warranty to be active and.
Without question.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You want me to work on trying to get a lower number, nail it down
Yeah.
a little bit before we make a decision to just cut it
Well,
out?
Try to get,
My opinion is we really need to replace one of the police vehicles.
well, we're definitely gonna have, if we're definitely putting 10 in, we have 20.
I don't wanna exhaust the reserve fund, cause it's building
Yeah, but
back
you,
up.
you're putting 20 away for next year. Next
Right.
year, you would exercise that with
Right,
whatever
with
the
30
needs
would
are.
have number.
So,
Yeah.
let me
Oh,
try
we did
to,
have a number.
this is
Yeah, earlier.
the most expensive price it would be. Let me try to work this out and get it down.
Okay,
Closer to-
I'm not saying no to that, just that, I'm
Alright.
basically cheap on the vehicles, I'd like to get as much use out of McKenna, even though
What's the-
100,000 miles is.
So we want to just leave this on the tentative budget?
What do you want, what's your preference, guys?
Leave it on the tentative, put it on the top of the list for, Cuts.
For round two, if in fact we
okay?
have to.
But also, I wanna, when you're looking at different ones, look at different vehicles as well, look in the 20s, and give us an option, because as long as it's an all-wheel drive, we're not gonna get a fleet of $20,000 vehicles. But having one that's more gas efficient, as long as it can do the job and take the light package, and save us the money, I wouldn't mind having one of those in the fleet. That's like a scrapper, you know, the one that it'll work and it'll do everything we need. It's not gonna climb a mountain, but it's an all-wheel drive, it'll handle a light package, it might be a little smaller, but, you know.
The Interceptor would accommodate our needs.
Would it?
Yeah, we'll clown them.
Is
They
that,
will.
what car do you have?
Mine's the Interceptor,
Okay.
and I actually had to deploy that a couple of times during this winter because one of the Durangos went down. Like I said, during the winter months, we're running those Durangos 24/7, reluctantly. Once we rotate this fleet out, they'll all be all-wheel drive vehicles at a minimum,
Right.
so you won't have that problem.
And I know you're all Fords, but if Chevy's, if you can get it.
They don't have an all-wheel drive package, is the problem.
I'm okay with
Nothing
the
wrong with
front-wheel
front-wheel drive.
I'm okay with the front, just give us the
I
numbers.
know you don't like it, but I've driven it for 10 years and gone through snowstorms. I mean, you just gotta, I mean, we're not really,
Well, part of our problem too is, and you've worked in the town, is we're back in the town.
Right. Yeah, no, you're
And
right.
you're not getting
Yeah.
those vehicles up some of these
No.
mountains or hills.
I agree, the all-wheel drive is,
Well, it's way better than Crown Vic,
Listen,
because you replace it.
Ford is, the Police Interceptor and the Explorer, they're all-wheel drive, so
Yeah.
we replace these Fords.
Right,
You don't have that issue about.
but we're talking about a possible $10,000 to $15,000 difference.
Are you
What I'm saying, well, from
Well,
the
if it's the
Impala,
difference between getting a car
to
this
the
year and
Taurus.
next year.
No.
just give us,
Okay,
just
that's what I'm looking at. That's
just
what I'm
give
trying
me,
to
give me
look
the
at.
numbers.
I know.
Give me the numbers, let us make a decision after we see the numbers.
no,
And the decision may be done with the Taurus
Yeah.
because we want the four-wheel drive, but at least
Right.
we have that option. And if we also need to know things like, is the state supporting Ford more, where there's some kind of a give back program, which we weren't aware of with the other things. We've gotta make these phone calls. Is there, if the state's going with Ford or state's going with Chevy, if we'll go all Ford because the state's going with it, or is there some kind of benefit? And there's gotta be, because the fact that Ford's making a freaking killing.
Because it's a little cheaper.
well, Ford
That's what
has
the
a
state goes
heavier
with.
duty vehicle. I mean, as far as the trucks go, I don't know about the
I
cars
don't.
so much,
So,
but I know the trucks, and the trucks are considerably built heavier and can carry more weight, and it's just, you pay more for a better vehicle with the Ford. I don't know if it's warranted if we're buying a car or not, as long as my concerns would be if it's four-wheel drive, would be, you mentioned, you got, if you're Canterbury or
Yeah.
up toward Morgan's Farm or Browns Hill or any of these side streets, I think that four-wheel drive makes a lot of sense today, for our needs, especially if you're.
It's definitely better.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, so.
I'll get you some better numbers.
Yeah, just so we can compare apples to apples.
Eagle lettering,
I would tentatively keep that in there too, because if we're gonna get a vehicle, we're gonna have to.
so that's only based on getting the
Yes,
vehicle,
yep.
okay.
Yep.
All right, now the vests.
The price you're seeing is the price, the state bid pricing for a level 2 vest is what we need. And I talked to you, and I'll brief the rest of the members here. I talked to the state about their vest reimbursement program, and you can get, for new hires, you can get almost the whole cost of the vest reimbursed, almost. But in order to apply for that funding, you need to apply for the federal funding, the Bureau of Justice funding, which doesn't open up until April. And I've been through that process before, so I'm going to get us a sign up for a grant for vest reimbursement through the federal government.
Whether it's part-time or full-time?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
So once I apply to the federal government, the Bureau of Justice, I can then go back, and if we hire anybody within this past fiscal year, I can get the money for those officers. So we've just hired 4 guys. So whatever vest we buy them, now this is next fiscal year, but for the guys we're getting vests for now, we'll get that money back to us. Going into the next fiscal year, the same thing will apply. We'll already be applied for the federal money, so whoever we hire after June 1st and beyond, we'll be able to get the state funds for them also.
Okay.
But we need money to put out to get
To
the
get money
vest,
back,
so that's why that figure's in there.
How many part-timers do we have right now?
yeah. New or
How many
existing?
part-timers are existing? Not the ones you just hired, the ones that have not been outfitted with vests.
You wanna know the number that
How many
haven't
have
gotten
vests? How many have vests? Part-timers.
No,
How many?
I got 3 guys
Oh.
that, we got money in the budget for this year to get the 3 that don't have them, and Bobby Zayas is one of them.
No, they have them, they're overdue.
No, Zayas doesn't have any, he's never issued.
He's been going out without a vest on.
He's got his own vest, a used one. And it's expired.
Okay. We're gonna talk these things out. I'm trying to figure out if there's enough, is what I'm, again, but we'll talk about that in a sec. The Glocks.
I spoke to Detective Bailey, he's a Glock armor, and he looked at our weapons. And he gave me a letter outlining the cost it will be to service these weapons. They all need to be serviced. And the cost will be $195 per weapon.
What do they do when they service a weapon?
The letter will outline the things
Okay.
that he has to do to them.
Okay.
And how many do you have? How many weapons are there?
We have 20 right now, but we're gonna need to increase that to accommodate the increase in the part-timers, so we're gonna need 24. So I reached out to,
We need at least 24.
Yeah,
We should have
26.
27. We should have enough so that there's at least 1 or 2 after our force is fully, and correct me if I'm wrong, shouldn't we have 1 or 2 in reserve?
Only if you plan on hiring someone, or
well, he's talking about if one goes
if
out
one
of
goes down of
service.
service.
Just 1, even if we have 1. I'm not talking about getting 20 guns to have in the shop.
Okay.
Shouldn't we have at least 1 additional one, so if a gun goes
Yeah.
down, we're not sending someone out without one?
Yeah.
Or they're shooting
Things
on?
really don't go down, it's not that typical, as
Okay.
long as they're maintained.
I'm not asking for it.
Especially Glocks.
Yeah.
Now, the
What's a
older
Glock
ones,
run now, 800?
No,
No.
state bid pricing's $409.86.
Is that also,
Now, hold on,
No,
so
no,
the
hold on.
price to get these things serviced to where they're operating good is $195 a weapon. Amchar on their state bid pricing will charge us $409.86, but they'll give us upwards of $260. Last estimate I got was $250 per weapon. So let's say they give us $250 per weapon, it's gonna cost us $159.86 per weapon
yeah,
to get new ones. So it's $35.14 cheaper to get new weapons with the trade-in as opposed to getting them all
oh, that's
serviced.
with the trade-in?
Yes.
Okay.
The problem is, we're all at the point, all weapons at the point where they need to be fixed or
Well, they're all the same age.
replaced, yeah.
Same.
That's